That's great.
For those who are following along in our bulletin, I have rung the chime, I have lit the flame, and we are now going to have our opening congregational song. And our accompanist today is Craig Rayfuse. Craig, what are we going to be opening today with?
In the older book,
the pink book.
Pink book. I shouldn't say old, that's kind of ageist. I'm just talking about a book though. 41.
On page 41.
Die Gedanken frei.
Having to speak some German this morning.
That's right.
All right, so please rise in body or spirit as you are willing and able to join in singing Die Gedanken sind frei.
I thought that this is a good notion expressed in here about how we will find our way in today's reality. So keep our thoughts free. So it goes, Die Gedanken sind frei. It's a waltz. So 1, 2, 3, 1. Die Gedanken sind frei, my thoughts freely flower. Die Gedanken sind frei, my thoughts give me power. No scholar can map them, no hunter can trap them, no one can deny. Die Gedanken sind frei. So I think as I please, and this gives me pleasure. My conscience decrees this right I must treasure. My thoughts will not cater to do for dictator. No one can deny the Gedanken sind frei. And if tyrants take me and throw me in prison, my thoughts will burst free like blossoms in season. Foundations will crumble, the structure will tumble, and people will cry, Die Gedanken sind frei. I want to mention that it says here English words by Arthur Connass. So I looked him up, Oh my God, this guy, he wrote lyrics to so many songs, usually translating Yiddish or German songs in the 60s, 50s and 60s. And his most famous one is Donut, Donut, which, everybody else and everybody else sang back in the day. At any rate, I read his name, a bunch of times. Finally got around it. Arthur Connass, that's for you.
What was the song you said Joan Baez sang?
She did.
What song?
Donut, Donut. Yeah. And also, I had a Sloan's Brothers record where they sang it in Yiddish and then went into a funny routine too. So this takes me back.
Good morning. For those who might have been expecting Wade Marbaugh up here today, unfortunately Wade and Stell have come down with COVID, and so they are recuperating, and I'm pinch hitting, as it were. Good morning. We are a spiritual community philosophically based on existentialist and feminist principles, dedicated to human liberation and the protection of the natural world. We make our spiritual home here in the Old Stone Church, which was hand-built by members of the African American Antioch East Baptist Church more than 100 years ago. We acknowledge that racial hostility drove those African Americans from the area, and we honor them and the powerful history of this place. We also acknowledge that in the 1800s, the Muskogee Creek people were driven from this land, and we support justice for all Indigenous people. My name is Patton White, and I will be facilitating this morning's celebration of life. Our opening words and our closing words as well were selected because we are approaching the end of 2024. And so I thought I would acknowledge the end of the year. This poem is by Hebert Logerie, or Hébert Logerie. The end of the year. The end of the year is the dawn of a new one. The sadness and the yesterdays are all gone. We have in front of us a new era, a new horizon. We are hoping and dreaming of a better season. The moon seems to be brighter at midnight. The migrant birds are flying very low tonight. They are chirping, screaming, moaning, and singing. The children are happy, jumping, running, and playing. We set new goals, short deadlines, and crazy wishes. We invite friends over to enjoy novel drinks and dishes, and we listen to old songs which never go out of style. The globe will not stop turning, and the wonderful sun will not cease shining. A new season always brings new fun. We need to relax, be more realistic, laugh more, and smile. If anyone has a community announcement that they would like to share, please write it down on materials that are at the table behind the center section of chairs. Do we have anyone here for the first time or the second time? Would you like to let us know who you are and how you came to be here?
I am Dottie. I live just on the other side of Chamber Park, and I was walking by one day and thought it seemed like a great place in my community, so that's why I'm here today. Yeah.
Welcome, Dottie. Yes?
Hi, I'm Melissa Weston. I've lived here twice, once in the 90s and then again in the aughts. You probably remember my children more than me, Pierce and Sadie. And I'm visiting my brother for the Christmas holiday up by Lake Lanier and on my way home now. I live in Vermont now. So I'm so thrilled and happy to be here. And thank you all for still existing. I'm just so happy. Thank you.
Welcome back. Anyone else? Well, if you look in the bulletin, we have this little flap here called the connection card, and if you would like to fill that out, you can leave it in the collection plates later on in the celebration of life. It allows us to keep in contact with you, sharing our regular updates via email and opportunities to be involved with First E. Is anybody celebrating a birthday or anniversary? Seeing none, we will go ahead and move on to our next congregational song. Craig, what is it going to be?
Also in the pink book, 32. Humanists, to the tune of Jingle Bells. I thought we'd stay in the holiday spirit with the song. And I also thought, well, since in a way the brand of existentialism got branded by Sartre with his famous lecture, Existentialism is Humanism. So, here we are.
Please rise in body or spirit as you're willing and able.
Not too fast. 2, 3.
Humanist are we. Oh, what joy it is to be from superstition free. Humanist, we say. Life is great, for in our minds we what's the way. On nature we depend, on science we rely, with logic we defend, now that we apply, we strive to show we care, in brotherhood we stand, to help the one in dark despair by holding out our hand. Oh, humanists are we, oh what joy it is to be from superstition free. Humanists are we. Life is great, we love it all, as you no doubt can see.
Let's do it again. And instead of saying, in brotherhood, saying fellowship, I meant to say that earlier. So, again, well, humanists are we. Oh, what joy it is to be from superstition free. Humanists, we say, life is great, we're in our minds, reason twice away. On nature we depend, on science we rely, with logic we defend, the knowledge we apply, we strive to show we care, in brotherhood we stand, to help the one in darkness there by holding out our hands. Oh, humanists are we. Oh, what joy it is to be from superstition free. Humanists are we. Life is great, we love it all, as you no doubt can see.
Marsha, do you want to make remarks now or save them for your talk? Okay. You didn't hear that right now. That was behind the curtain. All right, so I have one community announcement, and that is at the food barrel. We collect food for distribution to those in need. Is at the back of our sanctuary, and please remember to bring your non-perishable goods to help fill that up, and we distribute that on a regular basis. Yes?
Can I add something?
Mm-hmm.
You got this. As we know, in January there'll be a change of administration, and I brought a couple of things back here for people to look at. In relation to one of the issues that's going to be a big prime mover. It's deportations that are being planned, and those mass deportations, whether they'll happen or not. There's going to be a lot of problems with people who are immigrants here. The law recently did, the Georgia Latino Alliance for Human Rights recently did a training session. What they're trying to do is get people, all kinds of people who are willing to do two things. One is get posters like this and cards like these in Spanish and English to put up in their businesses, to put up in their organizations, in their communities, to say that it's a safe place for people and they will not cooperate with ICE. If ICE comes around knocking on the door, to try to ask about somebody in your community or in your space. So I just wanted to leave these here and hope that if anyone's interested in doing that and connecting with Laura, let me know. I can help you do that. And hopefully here in First Read we can decide that we are going to be a space where we'll have that posted outside and we will, not cooperate with, it's just like FBI coming to your door. You don't have to let them in, you don't have to cooperate. You can say, please no. Unless they have a search warrant or something. Legally, that would be allowable. But without a search warrant, you could say no. Anyway, that's, I just wanted to let people know that's what's happening. There are a lot of people who are willing to even maybe go to a neighborhood and see whether organizations and businesses within are willing to put up these signs.
Thank you, Debray.
We have that statement in our Sunday bulletin.
All right, and I have one more community announcement. This week, the African American community celebrated the 7 principles of Kwanzaa from December 26th through January 2nd. All right, so we are going to now move into our time of silence. This is an opportunity for us to be in community with one another and to tune out and go inside ourselves, tapping into our parasympathetic nervous system. We have candles on either side of the sanctuary if you would like to light one. It is time for another congregational song. Craig, what will it be this time?
Okay, in the other songbook, and they're alphabetical, Redemption Song, Bob Welch. I've sung it for a long time. It's not about him so much, but a couple of the phrases and the title are borrowed from the Second Coming by William Butler Yeats. The title is Vexed to Nightmare. Tiki torches snake a path. You will not replace us, wrath. Charlottesville's got no blues. Flex their swastika tattoos. Vaudeville all blacks and Jews. Skull and crossbones through a crowd. Blood force trauma screaming loud. Non-stop nutcase, total liars. Preaching to their ditto choirs. Stoop to conquer and divide. Easy marks, fit to be tied. Wrong turns taken for a ride. Promises not meant to keep. Stall for naught, talk is cheap. Beer and orchids blues. Shit show cycles. Monsters, news ain't real. Storm the Congress, stop the steal. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, let it bleed. Will not let that mob concede. Hate is all they ever need. Cavalierly led astray. Cockamamie, Oy vey. So the best had best beware, while the worst intensely care. Quick to cast that first stone, toxic ranting minds grown. nonsense twilight zone. May we not succumb to fright, hold our friends and family tight. Life on earth can ill afford what the rough beast slouches for. Yeah, today's reality.
Our featured speaker for today is our fellowship minister, Reverend Marsha Mitchiner. Reverend Marsha Mitchiner was ordained by us, the First E congregation, after several years of study with founding minister, our Lanier Clance. Today, she is part of the connective tissue of our congregation, holding together disparate elements, reaching out to folks whom we haven't heard from recently, and comforting those who need support. She plays in the dirt whenever she can, and refreshes herself with her partner on trips to the Georgia mountains, and shares her thinking with us several times each year. So at this time, I'd like you to join me in welcoming Reverend Marsha Mitchiner up to the podium.
I hope everyone had a good holiday, celebrating Christmas or Hanukkah or the beginning of Kwanzaa, or not celebrating any particular occasion, but just enjoying being with family and friends. I hope it's been a good time for each one of you. I know that I personally, with my partner, although we felt like we worked our butts off in preparation, but we had a very good holiday celebrating with friends that we've had for 30, 40, some 50 years. I hope you did too. I decided on the title for today, Finding My Way in Today's Reality, as I was thinking about the coming year. Like Lorraine was talking about, that I have expectations that the coming year we will see a tsunami of change. And I believe that how I personally respond, to those changes and to other events that, that happen, will make a major difference in how I perceive life and the level of my happiness. So, in existentialism, reality is subjective. It is constructed through experiences, through actions, through choices. There is no objective experience, no objective reality outside of my own perception. So how engaged I am in understanding the world, my perceptions, my interpretations, my attitude, those are things that determine and create, if you will, what my reality is. And this is true for each one of us, not just me, but for each one of us. No two realities are exactly the same, even though there are common denominators within those realities. And I don't know that anyone has had a clearer understanding of what that really means than Viktor Frankl. He's someone that I really admire. In his book, Man's Search for Meaning, he talks about his experiences during World War II, a time when he spent several years, a number of years, in concentration camps. He lost his father, he lost his mother, he lost his wife to Nazi brutality. And he wrote this book based on his experiences in the concentration camp and being aware of the experiences, the reactions, the attitudes of the other prisoners that he was there spending time with. His book is at the same time both horrifying and inspirational. If you've never read it, I hope that you will, because it is an amazing book on the resilience of the human spirit, even in the worst of circumstances. I can't even imagine, as I read through there and thought about the experiences that he and some of these other prisoners actually had. Day by day, waking up each morning, knowing that this was your reality, being in a concentration camp. He determined that even though in the midst of these dire circumstances, that individuals can still choose their attitude toward the world and what is going on around them. He saw firsthand how this manifested in their daily lives, how different fellow prisoners responded and how that affected the way that they were in the world, even though the circumstances were exactly the same. And I like to reread. This is a book that I really enjoy rereading and referring to because of one of the basic lessons that is in the book. And this is a quote. And this is a quote that, fortunately, that Edith often puts in our Sunday bulletin, because when she does, it's a great reminder for me, because it's so easy. It's so easy to get caught up in everyday life and not be always aware of this quote. Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. This is such a fundamentally precise way to live existentially, to be aware, to acknowledge that I have choices, even when the circumstances may seem to limit my choices. I really believe that to my core. Although sometimes I found it difficult to do, especially in difficult circumstances. And that is when it is needed the most, to be reminded of that fact. As I think about the events of recent months and their implications, which I feel like, as much as I hate to do it, that it is necessary. It is imperative that I remember, that I be aware of what has happened and what the implications are from those actions. But I still know, as referred to in that quote, that I am responsible for my attitude, my choices, or I will succumb to feelings of impotence. And that's a terrible way to feel. When I allow myself to get sucked in to the negative, to get sucked into this feeling of impotence. Sometimes I realize that my choices are very limited. But even in circumstances, I realize that the choice not to make a choice is abdicating, but it's still a choice. When I was 40, just a few years ago, I decided that I was going to go back to school, to graduate school, and get a master's in psychology at Georgia State. So I applied, and I was feeling very comfortable that I was going to get in. I had the recommendation. One of my 3 recommendations was from the head of the department of psychology at Georgia State. I mean, that felt like a shoo-in. And I was hoping that would compensate for my 3.2 average that I had in undergrad. Well, it didn't. I didn't get in. Plus, I did not have the opportunity. They had a program where, because there were so many people that applied, that they could only accept so many. But they had a provisional program where you might be accepted and you could be in the program for a year, and as long as you maintained an A average, then you were accepted fully into the program and were able to continue. To my dismay, the year that I applied, they terminated that program. So it was not an option. Well, I have to tell you that I think in large part because of my expectation that I was going to get in, that I really felt 95% sure that I was going to get in, and then I didn't, that I became pretty despondent. And that affected everything in my life. Everything. I woke up in the morning thinking about the fact that I had failed. I mean, that was my thought. That I beat myself up for having a good time in college over studying and caring about making better grades. as I came here and I listened to Lanier, talk about existentialist principles, and he talked about it from such a base perspective. I mean, right to the gut. When you heard him speak, he was not coming up with some lofty interpretation or using some principle that talked about somebody else being in charge, that you were in charge of how you responded. It wasn't easy for me because it was something that I truly wanted and was very disappointed. But over time, I realized that, being this negative toward myself, this self-flagellation is what it was, that got me nowhere forward. It only kept me stuck where I was, a choice that I had made. So I made a choice to change that. And in the process of changing that, I decided that I was going to go to massage school to become a massage therapist. I figured, okay, I can't help people psychologically heal from their wounds, their issues, but going this path, I could help them with their physical issues. And since I'm a firm believer in the mind-body connection, I thought, well, this is a great path to take. And in the years that I've been practicing, and I won't tell you how many, I very quickly came to realize that a session of body work was often a session that involved both the psychological and the physical. It's been one of the best decisions that I've made in my life, because I still, after all the years that I've been doing this, I still get up every morning and look forward to going into work. How many of you can say that about the work that you've done? But I do. I get up and I look forward to it. I enjoy the practice. I enjoy meeting new friends. I'm so grateful that I continued to come here and listen to Lanier talk about choice and attitude, and that I made that shift instead of continuing to, as Aldous Huxley said in Brave New World, to wallow in the muck. That way you never get clean. So how do I live each day being my best self? I can make choices about stepping out of the negativity, stepping out of drowning in this feeling of impotence. I can stay true to myself, to self-care, and being aware that I can make a difference. My choices can make a difference, even when the circumstances seem pretty bad. When it might be the lesser of two evils, so to speak, when I'm making choices. But it's still a choice. I think one of the things that the last few months have really brought so forward in my awareness is that I can continue to work for the things that matter to me. Equality and social justice. That even though I have a tremendous fear that we will see this tsunami of change that will not be in the direction of equality and social justice. But only me, can make the decision about what I'm going to do, how I'm going to respond to that reality, to my reality of expectations of what is coming. This is a challenge that is not unique to me. It is a challenge that each of us has, that we have to face, to live in the moment, to be aware each moment. And as long as I can do this, as long as I can be aware that I am responsible for my attitude in response to these events, in response to the whole world around me, then I can create a reality that is positive, proactive, and self-nurturing. I don't think there's anything that makes me feel more connected to myself than when I am give myself permission, because I have a tendency to go toward the negative. But when I give myself permission to go to the positive, to go to being proactive, to take care of myself, to nurture myself, then I'm a more fulfilled and certainly happier human being. And I hope that as you go through the coming months and years, that you will keep in mind these basic principles and allow yourself to feel positive, proactive, and truly nurture yourself. Let it be so. Thank you.
Thank you, Marsha. So we will have our closing congregational song, and that will be followed with our closing words. So Craig, what is our closing song?
Closing song is also in the alphabetical book, Cabaret.
We'll extinguish our flame first, and then our final closing words as we extinguish the flame of our candles. May its lingering spark be carried in your heart until we are together again. And our closing words are another poem, this one entitled Year's End by Richard Wilbur. Now winter downs the dying of the year, and night is all a settlement of snow. From the soft street, the rooms of houses show a gathered light, a shapen atmosphere, like frozen over lakes whose ice is thin and still allows some stirring down within. I've known the wind by water banks to shake the late leaves down, which frozen where they fell and held in ice as dancers in a spell, fluttered all winter long into a lake, graved on the dark in gestures of descent. They seemed their own most perfect monument. There was perfection in the death of ferns, which laid their fragile cheeks against the stone. A million years, great mammoths overthrown, composedly have made their long sojourns, like palaces of patience in the gray and changeless lands of ice and at Pompeii. The little dog lay curled and did not rise, but slept the deeper as the ashes rose, and found the people incomplete, and froze the random hands, the loose, unready eyes of men expecting yet another son to do the shapely thing they had not done. These sudden ends of time must give us pause. We fray into the future, rarely wrought, save in the tapestries of afterthought. More time, barrages of applause come muffled from a buried radio. The New Year bells are wrangling with the snow. And that concludes today's celebration of life, and we look forward to hopefully seeing you next week when we will be welcoming Loretta Ross with her talk, Where Do We Go From Here? Calling in. Have a great rest of your day, and Happy New Year.